Beringia, the submerged land of migration. There is a place the sea keeps as if it were a private thing, written lightly in salt, folded and set aside. Yet whenever we turn toward it, something like a map unfurls under our palms. It begins with a secret. There are geographies that retire from the world as one might close an old book, and Beringia closed itself with such a courteous, untroubled motion that even its forgetting feels like a small kindness. We make that secret our first companion, and in saying it aloud we promise to keep our steps light. Listen, even now there is a memory of footfall on a plain, the soft susurrus of grass, a breath like a small or against a vast, patient tide. Settle with us. Match your breathing to the suggestion of shore and sea. Breathe in as if the horizon draws back. Breathe out as if the water returns. Let this rhythm be our map. The light here is lacquered and thin, a cool varnish over long distances where the eye can rest. Imagine a steppe spread under a pale auroral film. The air so clear that sound thins to particulars. The distant rattle of a river, the faint scuff of small ungulate hooves, the whisper of a leather strap. This is not a scene of sudden drama, but of patient particulars. We attend to them as a scholar might attend to marginalia, with a delighted, dry amusement. One might suppose that a place described in such intimacy would be loud with claim, but Beringia insists on modesty. It offers layers rather than proclamations. There is a small pleasure in the idea that land can be unmoored from time and kept as memory rather than as ruin. We will move through that pleasure together slowly, allowing the body to respond. Feel how the soles of your feet might remember cool silt, how your hands find a resting place at your sides, how your shoulders soften. These are the first body return cues we give each other, simple anchors for a mind that is inclined to wander. In our telling, the word Beringia becomes a book of touch. Palea shoreline is a leaf folded into an atlas. Steppe tundra is a page with a pressed blade of grass. We will not drown in dates or drown in theory. Rather, we read with tenderness, holding each small fact as if it were a coin found in a pocket long left closed. There are hints of sonar pings in this place, small bell-like notes that suggest the outline of things beneath the surface, traces that are felt more than seen. They are not demands. They are invitations to curiosity that arrives like a quiet guest at our table. Think of the plain as a slow archive where the pages are turned by tide and season. At times the map will be tactile, silt between toes, the give of a hollow underfoot, and at times it will be a whisper on sonar, a shadow suggested between currents. We will name those sensations and then let them fall back into silence, so that thought does not become insistence. Our voice will be a lamp without flash, guiding rather than startling. There are small objects in the margin of the story. A flake of stone with edges worn to patience, a weathered piece of bone, a child's thumb mark pressed into clay that has hardened and later softened under salt. Such finds are intimate. They ask for a hush rather than an exclamation, and they remind us that ordinary lives threaded through this landscape. When we speak of seasons here, we think in gentle cycles, a long white winter that draws a close, a green that arranges itself like a slow exhale, a brief autumn where light is suddenly thin and very gracious. These cycles teach us that movement across this land was often homeward in character, returning to hollows, to warmed stones, to places known by smell and by the pattern of stars. There is a scholarly pleasure that visits us in such stories, a small, old-fashioned delight in careful description, and I am put in mind of marginal notes that say nothing important and everything necessary. We keep these marginalia between us, reading them aloud like lit candles, letting the heat be small and private. If a question comes to mind, how many steps, which season, which animal, we answer it with a soft conjecture, then fold it back into silence. The conjecture is not a verdict, but a kind voice. Imagine we stoop, together, to lift a handful of that plain's remembered dust, fine, cold, and slightly salty, and let it sift through our fingers like a private hourglass. We feel small weight, and ancient patience, and in that smallness find a kind of company. The world continues where we cannot see, and we, quietly, are witnesses. Good night. So let us breathe together once more, slowly and with attention. Inhale in the length of the shore drawing back. Pause with the softest curiosity, and exhale as the tide returns, allowing each breath to flatten the small sharpness of thought. We will go on, at our own gentle pace, leading with questions that are careful and with wonder that is unhurried. We wake, as if from a communal sleep, to the practical music of a day that has no hurry. The sky is a pale ledger, and the plain before us is read in small, attentive motions. Morning arrives here in the manner of careful hands. A harbor opens like a palm, not with fanfare, but with the moderate clink of boats and the soft grounding of oars. Listen to that harbor. Ropes whisper against wood. A single gull preens and then folds its head. A child's laugh is caught and put away like a stone. We see an oak avenue where young willows edge a track that leads inland. The avenue is a low vow of shade and scent, and the people who pass beneath it do so with slow purpose. At a hearth, smoke loosens itself into the low sky. The hearth is not a public theater, but a punctual kindness where food is made and stories are spoken in the soft currency of memory. And there is the tidal plain, the forgiving edge where sea and land measure each other with small waves and softer breath. We will follow, for a day, the gentle rotation of needs and comforts, dawn for gathering, noon for rest and lean shade, evening for the return and the domestic tasks that stitch a community to itself. What does a day demand here? Water, warmth, watchfulness for weather, and the little rituals that keep a group known to one another. Perhaps we trail a small party who rise at a whisper and set out with the sun low as a promise. Their boots find grass that bends and returns. Their hands map the plain by touch as much as by sight. We are given 4 set pieces to inhabit: the harbor, the oak avenue, the hearth, and the tidal plain. Each offers a different angle on ordinary life, and each will become a note in a sustained chord of wonder. At the harbor, the day starts with the smell of oiled wood and fish, a language of small, repeating sounds, the rhythmic slap of a net, the low conversation of 2 people comparing the day's take, the careful packing of things into woven baskets. We attend to the tactile detail of a net folding, how a wet rope cools the fingers, how salt granulates like a small punctuation on skin. There is, too, the scholar's aside that delights in particulars. How many knots secure a line in such a place, and how the design of a basket can tell the story of seasons. We remark on such things with soft curiosity and then return the fact to silence. Along the oak avenue, movement is conversant with shade. Children run briefly and then sit to lace sandals. Elders pause to lift a small bundle, and birds annotate the day with quick, bright punctuation. Here we attend to how ordinary mobility feels. Ankles tasting the give of earth, lungs adjusting to the scent of crushed leaf, the tiny discipline of passing without urgency. Do you feel, with us, the small settling that comes from such paced motion, the way the shoulders unbunch and the chest learns a wider rhythm? At the hearth, the community reassembles for warmth. We imagine stew in a broad bowl, steam that carries spices and conversation, hands that pass food without fanfare. See how the light of the fire makes small maps across faces, and hear how stories travel in the hush between spoon and lip. A tale here might be a brief accounting of a path found, or a playful correction of a remembered direction. There is intimacy in such moments, a social breathing where each exhale is answer to another's inhale. The tidal plain is our 4th picture, an edge that invites attention without insisting, a place where one might lay a stone and name it for someone absent. Waiting at the shallow edge, one feels the cool give of mud, hears the ripple of small fish, and notices the way light fractures on tiny current lines. We might stand there as a group, toes submerged and conversation low, and feel the world scale rearrange into the small and private. Through these set pieces, a sustained wonder begins to gather like mist, how ordinary things, rope, basket, bowl, a child's tread, compose the true architecture of migration. Are these not the things that make life portable, that allow people to follow seasons without losing the idea of home? This, for us, is the murmuring thesis of the plain. Migration is not a single, heroic line but a series of habitual returnings, small fixings of habit that travel as readily as the people who carry them. We include in this day the small sensory facts that invite the body in, the cool of water on a wrist, the burn of steam on a palm, the grain of a woven strap against skin. Bring your awareness now to hands. Rest them lightly on your lap. Feel the weight of your forearms. Notice the contact of fabric where it meets flesh. Let each detail anchor you further into this shared scene. Such body cues will be our gentle tether as the story widens. They remind the mind that we are present and moving with measured slowness. A scholar's aside softens the narrative. There are patterns in basket weave, and those patterns can be read like a neighborhood register. There are ways of repairing a net that are taught by touch rather than by speech. We mention these things not to instruct, but to steep the imagination in small certainties, habits that pass hand to hand and morning to morning. As the day closes, light draws thin and the harbor's clink becomes a lullaby. The avenue's shade resolves into a gentle darkness. The hearth's gossip folds into shared silence, and the tidal plain becomes a reflective margin where the sea rehearses the next day's opening. We leave this day with a softened wonder, considering that the lives making it were threaded through repeated, ordinary attentions that accumulated into the great human movement we name migration. And now, for a moment, let the breath do its work. Inhale with the suggestion of harbor air. Pause as you feel it settle. Exhale long as the tide whispers back. We have kept pace with the plain today and found in its domesticity a quiet courage. There is an unanswered hush that settles where people once walked, less a mystery in the sensational sense than a patient, porous question that invites us to lean closer. We hold that hush as a companion. It asks little and gives the quiet pleasure of not knowing. Here, then, is the central enigma we will walk around together. What precisely lies beneath the shallow sea where grass once bowed, and how shall we trace footsteps that the ocean has smoothed like vellum? Consider 3 ways the plain might have become as it is now. Let us set them gently beside one another like labeled pebbles, acknowledging that each is plausible and each is partial. The first is a patient return. Water, having been held in ice for long centuries, came back slowly and folded the land under a soft hand. Communities moved with that rhythm, carrying what they could and leaving behind small things that the sea later kept. We imagine this as a long, considerate undoing, where people had time to bury a child's toy in a hollow, to hollow out a cache of seeds, to fold blankets into bundles. Such small departures create traces, pocketed depressions, hearth residues, that may still whisper to the patient scholar. The second proposition is a sudden inlet. An errant storm or a shift of sediment opens a throat to the sea, and a coastline rearranges itself in a single season. This theory is sharper, more violent in its suggestion. Even a quick inlet can be quiet at night and then known only by the absence it produces. If we imagine such a suddenness, we must also imagine intimate loss. A child's small bowl left tilted on a sill, the unfinished knot on a rope, a sleeping figure that woke to the taste of salt. These images are brief and tender. We offer them not as accusation, but as compassionate conjecture. Possible ways a life could be interrupted by water. The third is the human slow undoing. Not the seas alone, but the wearying of routes and the migration of people away from certain places through generations, leaving emptier spaces that the sea later took rook-like. This is a social theory, an ebb of human attention rather than a single geological event, and it allows for many small absences that accumulate until the shore is sparsely marked. In such a model, the plain becomes a palimpsest of retreated habit. The faint lines where paths once braided now read as subtle variances in sediment. We will not insist on one explanation. We carry each with tenderness, holding the plurality like different ellipses of the same thought. It is a scholar's habit to prefer a single tidy hypothesis, but the plain resists tidy answers, and so do we, happily, resist the temptation to be certain. What is more satisfying, perhaps, is the way these possibilities fold into one another, so that the patient return and the sudden inlet and the slow human retreat might all have contributed at different times and places along the greater margin. As we consider these theories, a motif arrives that will anchor our middle, the sunken ziggurat. Not a literal tower of empire, but a symbolic inner chamber where the life of a community concentrates its meaning, an architectural heart that, whether roofed by grass or sea, keeps an emblem. We find, in our imagination and in certain echoes on sonar, the suggestion of an inward-lipped space, a place whose stones were tended and whose corners knew the ritual of small hands. Let us approach that chamber together now. Imagine we stand at the threshold. The world around is muffled as though we have drawn a shawl over our heads. Sound is rounder here, and the breath is a small, visible thing. We step in with measured shoes. Our feet find earth that has been wetted and compacted, giving a gentle, satisfying resistance under the sole. Within, the chamber breathes with a confined rhythm, muffled current, the soft sigh of silt, a distant bell-like sonar that registers as a faint, nocturnal pulse. There is a single object that arrests our attention, a small carved peg, perhaps the remnant of a child's plaything or a marker from a daily task, knocked with a thumb mark, weathered to a point. We pick it up with care. Its grain is faint, its edges blunted by both hand and water. This tiny thing is not proof of grand narratives, but an intimate affidavit to ordinary life. It tells us that human hands were here, and that someone pressed a thumb into wood and made a gesture small enough to be almost private. The peg is less an answer than a companion to our curiosity. It anchors the thought that people folded their days here into small, repeatable motions. In leaving the chamber, we notice physical cues. We feel the cool clay beneath our toes, the slight give of packed earth, the way our breathing slows with that small tactile attention. Such sensations remind us that the work of imagination is also a work of the body, an entering that steadies the mind while gentle muscles register presence. Around the ziggurat are other intimacies, a hearth ring visible as a darker whisper in sediment, a line where a fence once stood now suggested by a band of compaction, the faint dark stain where organic material once lay. We catalog them softly, like a librarian indexing tenderness, and in the cataloging find ourselves less hungry for certitude and more satisfied with the texture of small detail. There is, too, humility in the methods scholars use. Cores, sonar sweeps that speak in modest bumps, the slow patience of a lab that washes and reads each fragment. We imagine technicians in low light, their movements tidy and non-theatrical, handling small things with gloved reverence. All the while, the ambiguity hook remains. What we cannot know keeps its own company, and sometimes that companion is kinder than the most determined answer. We hold the tension between evidence and absence like a warm cloth. It comforts rather than chills. Before we leave this section, rest the body with us briefly. Draw the shoulder blades down. Let the crown of the head release. Notice how the breath lengthens when the jaw unclenches. We are no longer trying to solve the plane. We are friends with its questions, attentive and unhurried. Discovery moves in small recognitions rather than trumpets. It often begins with an irritation, a net caught on something that should not be there, the subtle catch of rope on a hidden lip. A fisher lifts a hand and feels resistance that is not weed. He reaches, and for a bare instant his fingers brush worked wood or stone where only sea should be. That tug, the murmured curse, is the first peculiar music of rediscovery, a small sound that turns attention inward. Soon after comes the first photograph, grainy and private, taken from a wharf, a fragment of angle where light steals across a submerged curve. We look at such an image and feel the same small astonishment one feels when finding a pressed coin in an old coat pocket, surprise braided with the intimate sense of life continuing. Then a sonar blip will speak in its own tongue, a roundness on a screen, a line that suggests terrace, a repeated pattern like cautious punctuation. Machines have their own voice. The whir of sonar becomes a bell that translates depth into suggestion. The diver's reach is the most tactile moment. Underwater, in muffled light, a gloved hand moves through silt that billows like a cloud and closes around form. Astonishment here is private and immediate, salt, cold, and the soft give of a worn surface register against gloved fingers. The object is wrapped, carried to the surface, and conveyed to the lab where instruments add their small mechanical music, low hums, and the discreet click of monitors. At the lab table the mood alters. Fluorescent light is steady rather than theatrical, tools lie tidy, and voices lower to a practiced hush. The lab's sounds, the soft whir of centrifuges, the tap of tweezers, become a soundtrack for gentle revelation. We will follow this cadence. Net snag, first photo, sonar blip, diver's reach, lab table, and public walk where a find becomes shared. Imagine the private discovery moment. A diver finds, half buried beside a terrace that suggests our sunken ziggurat, a small carved peg with a thumb mark. He lifts it, holds it to his mask, and for a long breath the object is simply present, small and exact. Back on deck the peg is wrapped in cloth and, in the hush between colleagues, the diver offers one quiet story of fit and hand. The story will seed later reckonings. Public walks follow like tide, gentle, communal, sober. Maps are unrolled. People come to the edge with soft shoes and softer questions. At these gatherings cameras are polite, questions measured, and the atmosphere is careful rather than clamorous. We may stand on a reeling dock, feeling the grain beneath our feet, our hands resting at our sides to anchor body to place. Modern methods give us new vocabularies, LiDAR cuts, core samples that read like rings, sediment dates that whisper centuries. But acoustic textures remain crucial. The click of a shutter, a sonar bell, a boat's low cough, the lab's discrete mechanical sighs, they form rediscovery's soundtrack. We treat these sounds kindly when mixing them, each small noise an index to action and memory. Conservation is careful choreography. Humidity monitors, soft brushes, slow drying. Each small protocol promises care to the object and to the people whose stories it may enter. At the shore some tie a ribbon to a post or read names aloud. Such modest rituals fold past into care. Back in the field, the sonar pattern that suggested terraces may be revisited by geophysicists. They will refine readings, overlaying data sets until the terrace shape becomes more or less legible. Anomalies are treated like questions in a book margin, flagged, rechecked, and then left until corroboration arrives. Sometimes corroboration is forthcoming, and sometimes it is not. The practice of patience is paramount in such work. The sunken ziggurat motif grows here not as hubris, but as a way to describe recurring structure. a steppe terrace, an inward-lipped space, an area that collects human action and therefore narrative. When a feature coheres across data sets, teams will plan dives and core extractions with slow choreography, winches, small boats, measured descent, a diver's careful tether. The descent itself is ceremonial. A diver steps from a low platform. The boat's engine hushes, and the only sound is the soft slapping of water against hull before muffled underwater breathing begins. Underwater, the body learns a new attention. Our muscle memory is repurposed to read pressure and light, and the hands become instruments of translation. On surfacing, divers bring stories that are modest and exact, a description of silt grain size, a note about the angle of a stone, small facts that are collected like shards of conversation. These facts are later framed in reports that will be read by many eyes, but the initial astonishment remains private between those who were present. And so the modern arc completes itself from accidental snag to considered study to communal remembrance, a chain of small recognitions. In every stage, the acoustic and tactile textures are essential. The net's snag, the camera's click, the sonar's bell, the diver's breathing, the lab's hum, the public's soft footfalls, all are part of an embodied storytelling. Allow the body to track the sequence with us. Feel the small tension in fingers remembering a net, then ease. Let the chest expand and soften as we name these motions and let them go. We prefer such slow revelation because it keeps the human scale at the forefront. We do not demand final answers, only the pleasure of attentive listening. There is a slow music to the deep past, and in this section we attune ourselves to the measured movements of earth and sea. The land bridge emerges not as a sudden spectacle, but as a long, musical response to wait and thaw. Imagine, with us, the continent taking a breath. Ice sheets thick as old stone hold water like sleep. Then, as climate loosens its grip, those sheets release a patient exhale that the sea receives and keeps. We like to think of that exhale as choreography. Glaciers withdraw in a slow, mannered bow, and the shore steps forward where water once stood. The process is not a single event, but a sequence of small adjustments. Rocks settling, river courses reknitting, shorelines rehearsing new edges, each movement a measured note. Consider isostatic rebound. The earth, relieved of glacial weight, rises in increments, like a field raising its sleeve to air. These adjustments are gentle in our terms, but profound in consequence. They rearrange the possibilities of passage and plate the plain with new routes. We translate deep time into human-scaled images so the mind may receive it as touch. Picture a river finding a shallower course, a valley changing millimeter by millimeter, and, across generations, a new ford appearing where none existed before. Such small shifts invite movement. A herd shifts its grazing, people follow, a path etches itself in soft mud and becomes a habitual way. Geology here is an accomplice to human pattern, offering affordances to be read and answered by those who move. We speak of centuries as quiet breaths. Imagine a timeline folded like cloth whose creases, slowly revealed, show where feet will step. Sea levels lower by many meters, coastlines extend, and shallow bays become freshwater flats that invite life. Terraces form where waves once lapped. These terraces can hold the memory of human arrangement, post holes, compacted patches, the dark hint of a hearth. We read these features as one reads a palimpsest, faint inks of sediment telling stories to patient eyes. Rivers carry silt that buries tracks, that burial both protects and conceals. The sea, in its slow return, becomes conservator and concealer alike. There are further textures, permafrost acting like a slow binder, holding seeds and bones until thaw releases them into new sediment, peat layers that remember summer and keep a faint, earthy scent. Picture a peat bed yielding underfoot, moss cushioning a step, and here, far off, the rounded footfalls of an elk moving through cattails. These environments give the plain its remedies: bogs that heal hoof wounds, ridges that offer windbreaks, shallow lakes that host fish and birds. Slow sculpting of land thus creates niches and routes, inviting the choreography of life and human passage. We should also consider how these slow geological motions altered the choreography of living things. Migratory corridors widened or narrowed, game trails shifted, and people adapted by learning small rules of thumb, where the shallows will freeze earliest, which ridges shed wind, which hollows will keep water. These are practical knowledges transmitted hand to hand, hewn into habit rather than into proclamation. A child learning to follow a herd knows, by touch and by eye, the subtle change in wind or soil that promises food. That child may grow to be the keeper of a route. Paths are taught with patience, and a community's memory is embodied in cautious steps and the measured tying of knots. From a geological vantage, some of these habits appear as faint, parallel lines on sediment maps, a braided history of use. And when we overlay cores and dates, we can read them as sequences rather than as isolated incidents. Sediment dating here is not a cold utilitarianism, but something like listening. A core's rings are breaths of the landscape, and each depositional layer tells of wetter years and drier ones, of windier times and those with still air. Breathe now with that slow, sure. We walk together now along a path learned by repetition. It is not only geography that guides, but habit, the quiet architecture of a people who carry places within their hands. There is a cadence to such traveling, the measured placement of foot, the whispered exchange about where willow roots will give firmest purchase, the soft negotiation about when to rest and when to move. Feel, with us, the worn grasses beneath sandaled or furred feet, the give and return that teaches the ankle to trust the ground. We are following small parties, hunters who know the ridges, families who time their walking to the turning of light, elders who remember pools by the taste of air. In each vignette, we privilege intimacy over spectacle. A morning when children tie small furs to a pole to learn packing, a midday when a mother loosens a braid and mends a strap, an evening when two people share a bowl and a quiet correction of directions. Our first vignette is of hunters who move like a slow shadow across a plain. They travel light, hands ready for the quick work of flint and hide. Their conversation is spare and practical, a cadence of names for ridges and water. We notice the small sound of the bough resting against cloth, the whisper of footsteps, the soft cluck signaling a change of pace. Such noises become the grammar of moving. A second vignette brings us to a family on a seasonal circuit, packing and unpacking a temporary hearth. They choose a hollow with lee from wind, arrange stones to hold the pot, and embed a small cache beneath a tuft of grass. Observe how domestic objects travel. A woven bag folded inside another, a paddle marked with a notch for counting, a child's toy wrapped in cloth and carried at the hip. These items are bookmarks of belonging. They allow a person to leave and return without the sense of being unmoored. In the third vignette, an elder guides a youngster along a riverbank at dusk. The elder points out the scent of river moss, the angle of a leaning stone that marks a ford, the slight hollow where water pools in late summer. Teachings of place passed slowly, by touch and taste. We feel the lesson as if it were a tactile whisper, the fingers brushing a lip of stone, the child's palm pressing to learn texture. Movement here is often cyclical. Routes are learned as returns rather than single departures. A path becomes familiar not through marking but through use. The pressed grasses, the compacted earth, the slight smoothing of a bank where many feet have passed. These habitual lines form the real map of Beringia, a palimpsest of routes that shift with seasons and with the slow changes of the land. Migration is less a migration than settlement drama, and more a long conversation between people and place. People listen, place answers. We imagine hands translating landscape into rule of thumb, which shallow will freeze first, where fog will gather, which ridge will hold berry in late summer. These are small knowledges, practical and mortal, passed mouth to ear and palm to palm, anchoring communities through uncertainty. Notice the domestic sound, the clink of a tool mended at dusk, the low murmur of speech near a shared pot, the careful folding of a child's blanket, each an intimate signal that life here is ordinary and full of small care. Such domesticity is migration's quiet scaffolding. It is what makes movement sustainable across generations. We might imagine, tenderly, an individual who grows to be the keeper of a route, a person whose feet remember the line of river stones and whose chest stores the rhythm of the path. This keeper teaches not with proclamation but with demonstration, walking the route with a young companion, pausing to press a thumb mark into a post, showing by small gesture where to step. We feel the small warmth of that transmission as a hand on shoulder, a steadying touch that says, in the simplest way, you will be able to find your way home. Before we leave, bring attention to your own feet and legs. Notice the contact with your chair or bed, the light pressure at the soles, the way your knees feel heavy in their joints. Let these sensations be a bridge between our imagined steps and your body's present stillness. Let the memory of walking become a pathway to rest. We carry these small journeys forward, not as spectacle, but as slow evidence that people were here, moving and remembering in rhythms that soothe as much as they propel. The plain kept a music of lives. It speaks through the animals and the plants that shaped it. We listen as an orchestra of small sounds, the low rolling snort of grazers, the thin insect murmur in warm weather, the hollow tap of a ptarmigan on a frozen stone. These are textures, not lists. Each is a thread in the plain's soft voice. Close one hand over the other, feel the slight warmth, and let that small touch return us to the field. Grasses rule this surface, a muffling cloth that cushions and records. Their blades whisper when wind moves, a hiss like dry silk that softens footsteps. They hold morning dew as beads of light. Bend to lift a blade and feel its fibrous spine between fingertips, the dust of pollen like a faint manuscript. Moss and lichen gather in hollows, sponge soft under a boot. Seeds rest there in patient dark. Large animals are distant companions. Elk, bison-like grazers whose breath plumes like warm smoke when air thins. Their footfalls are a slow metronome, shaping grass into corridors. Predators answer with quieter punctuation, a rustle, a sudden hush in insect song, a single measured exhale. We attend to the economy of presence, who is heard, who answers, and how the chorus rearranges with season. Rivers add a silver voice. Braided channels speak in plinks and glassy sheets. Pebbles clack in slow counting. In spring, flood brings migrating birds whose calls fold into water's music. In late summer, the river lies almost still, a mirror that collects insect song. Listen to the way water makes small rhythms, an eddy's hush, a reed's soft slap, and let these rhythms be a metronome for the body's slowing. Berries and roots spring from soil, subtle nourishment for herd and human. Their scent is low, sweet, a green note that announces season. Imagine a berry crushed between thumb and tongue, a private constellation of flavor. Birdsong is spare and deliberate. A plover gates an hour with staccato, a raven records boundary with long notes, small finches thread space with quick punctuation. These voices teach weather, mark presence, and we learn them as we learn wind. Insects make the plain an underbreath, distant wings murmur, beetle legs scrape, dry hummock, a subtle shiver. We choose a few textures to rest in rather than attempt a chorus. Consider the smellscape. Sea tang mixed with honeyed green, musk of grazers, damp loam of thawing peat. Smell carries memory. One breath can return a person to a field tended years before. Breathe with us now. Sea, grass, peat, combined into a single quiet perfume. These species are companions, not decoration. They teach where to rest, which hollows will hold water late into summer. They are the plains pedagogy, and in learning it people learn to keep families alive across uncertain years. Bring your attention now to the soft beating behind your ribs. Notice the steady, modest insistence, and let that pace slow. As night falls in our imagining, the chorus quiets to a few lines. One long bison breath, a distant owl's soft inquiry, the hush of grass filling spaces between movement and rest. We fold these sounds into memory as a low, sustaining lullaby. We come, in this section, to the small, almost secret things that survive, artifacts intimate as a human breath and as stubborn as stone. There is a cool tap of a trowel in a diver's gloved hand, a measured knock that says, gently, I have found something. Often what we find is modest, a flake of worked stone caught in silt, a shaped bone smoothed by use, a weathered spindle that remembers a child's play. These objects are not trophies. They are the private ledger of ordinary days, and we treat them softly, with hands that know how to be careful. Underwater, preservation is a peculiar friend. In one place water buries and protects, in another it eats. Organic things may survive in anoxic mud while stone is unremarked. Imagine slow chemistry, peat darkening a seed, cold silt arresting decay, salt making surfaces crust and shine in strange ways. Absence is as informative as presence. A missing bowl or vanished fence line speaks to conditions and contingencies of survival. We learn to listen to silence and to consider it a field of possibility rather than mere disappointment. Recovery is a choreography of gentleness. A diver clears silt in a careful motion, a cloud detaching and folding away like breath. We brush a story free of sand, each stroke reverent. When an object reaches surface, the change is tender. Air touches wood that has lain for centuries, and it exhales a smell, salt and old fire, that feels like an opening page. At the lab table, the object is unwrapped and examined with tools that make little sound. A soft brush, a fine probe, a lamp that throws mild, attentive light. We record measurements, note wear, and speak low conjectures about use and maker, cautious of turning suggestion into certainty. Methods are part of the tenderness. Sonar sweeps whisper the paleo landscape, and cores read like slow diaries of sediment. Cores are tubes of earth pulled up to the light. In their rings the land keeps records of wetter years and drier spells, and we read these rings as breaths. Radiocarbon dates arrive like marginalia, giving a loose sense of age. Each technique returns its own affordance and its own silence. Together they make a quilt of probability rather than a single map. Moments of private astonishment do not need proclamation. A technician holds a flake to the light and sees, under certain grain, the mark of a human hand. She whispers a name for that grip and folds her hands as if in prayer. We bring you close to these intimacies. Feel the small warmth of being near a recovered object, the way your chest widens a fraction at wonder. Touch your thumb to the pad of your other hand now, noticing skin's texture. Let this tiny contact be the body cue, keeping you grounded as we move through reverie. Not all traces are recoverable. Erosion, scavenging by tides, and later activity erase lines. But absence can leave a shape, a darker band in sediment, a persistent depression, a change in grain that hints of human weight. We catalog these quiet indices with the same care as a pot or peg. They are clues asking patience, to wait for patterns to emerge. There is a social humility in archaeology that comforts. Teams deliberate slowly, publish cautiously, and expect notes to be read by future hands. Conservation is hands in a cradle. Desalination baths coax salt from wood. Controlled drying prevents cracking. Careful storage under soft light preserves context. Each step preserves not only object but the tenderness of its story. We close with a reminder that objects are companions of the living past, not proclamations of conquest. Feel the small contact of fabric against your skin, the press of a palm in your lap, and let that sensation echo a hand that once shaped a peg or smoothed a bowl. We keep these fragments as confidants, practicing a soft fidelity to lives folded into the sea, and we hold them gently. We speak now of slow return, of the sea's patient reclamation, and we will do so without violence of voice or haste of image. The submergence is a long breathing out rather than a sudden rupture. Imagine the shore as a page that turns itself, edge by edge, each wave smoothing a thin line until only the faintest trace remains. In that movement, there is both erasure and preservation. The waves now cradle what once was walked upon, holding fragments in salt and silt as a hand keeps a folded letter. The sea does not rush so much as rearrange. Currents lay down quilts of sediment, and the coastline performs a patient choreography we name submergence. Think of gradual rise, seas lifting over decades, edges of fresh water giving way to brackish tongues, marsh swallowing hollows, and then settling into new shapes. There is a cadence here. Season after season the margin nudges inward, reed by reed, bank by bank, until a familiar path becomes a remembered line. Sometimes the line is abrupt in our records, where a storm or slide quickened fate. Sometimes it is so slow generations repattern their lives and leave only faint marks. Either way, the refrain holds. The waves now cradle what once was walked upon. Place a hand over your heart and feel the slow beat there. Let the phrase settle with each exhale. The waves now cradle what once was walked upon. There is comfort in the image, firm ground becoming cushioned, cushion gentling rather than obliterating. Consider adaptation. Some follow the retreating edge, shifting hearth and habit. Others stay until necessity moves them, and still others reroute elsewhere. Fauna reconfigures too. Grazers find new pastures. Predators track prey across narrowing corridors. Birds alter routes in small economy. These are sequences of small decisions, quiet strategies of survival written in daily moves rather than in headlines. Remember that submergence preserves differently than desert or ash. Organic matter in anoxic silt can survive long after soft weather would have erased it. Peat holds seeds, shells become microarchives. Thus the sea becomes author and archivist. It rewrites and keeps. The waves now cradle what once was walked upon. There is human cost here. Loss of place, memory compressed into objects, labor of carrying what matters. Picture a family packing a small kit, a kettle, a carved peg, a bundle of seed, a wrapped toy, each chosen for daily intimacy. When hearths are left, the smell of smoke lingers in peat. When fences fall, a darker band appears in cores and tells future readers that something once stood. We might imagine generosity in submergence, wetlands forming that nourish fish, estuaries rich with life inviting new use. Reclaiming is not only loss but transformation. Still, the phrase returns. The waves now cradle what once was walked upon. Feel the cool salt on the lip of a wrapped bundle, the give of damp cloth, the small hesitation before tucking a child's toy into a fur roll. These are the domestic metrics of departure. Each small gesture maps a mind that intends continuity. Repeat with us once more. The waves now cradle what once was walked upon, softly, as if the sea were reading aloud a gentle, private ledger. We will rest in the smallness of detail, the quiet tangents that fold the plain into pocket-sized stories. These are soft corners where the mind can settle. A feather lodged in grass. We stoop and note its curve, the way barbs catch pollen like a tiny constellation, and the pleasure is private. A child's laugh remembered as a ripple in reeds. It arrives and then subsides, leaving a residue of warmth. The smell of smoked fish tied in bark, a modest perfume calling to hunger and memory in one small breath. These are not grand episodes, but stitches of days, and repeating them eases the mind into a steady pattern. First, the feather. We imagine it's down soft against a palm. Run a fingertip along the shaft and feel minute ridges. Notice how something slight can anchor memory. An object is a tiny hearth inviting return. Touch your index to your thumb now. Feel the skin's texture, and let that contact root you as we survey micro scenes. Next, the lullaby from a distance. 3 notes repeated with slight change. We transcribe it not in words but in sensation. A pulsing ease behind the sternum, a memory of rocking. We are not asked to remember lyrics, only the motion, the slow back and forth that steadies breath. Imagine that motion carrying a child across plain and sea that will one day keep the land like a folded letter. A small boat beached, paint worn to wood. Someone carved a notch for counting journeys. Press a thumb into that notch in imagination and feel the worn hollow. Domestic marks are private maps. They mean counting and the human desire to leave small sign. A stray stone warmed by sun. We pick it up for its cool weight and rub it between palms in a tiny ritual. Rituals are miniature architectures of calm. Repeating a small action grounds a group across seasons. A child's toy, dimly remembered. A carved peg smoothed by small hands. We hold it as if it returns warmth and imagine the thumb mark in its grain. Objects like these summon domestic scenes without the strain of full narrative, and so they comfort. A strip of repaired leather, its stitch uneven but steadfast, speaks of a hand that mended rather than replaced. Such care keeps life moving. The smell of birch tar lingers where rope was secured. Small repair work is a quiet economy of survival. A lullaby returns, thinner, closer to a whisper, and we lower our voices, letting the tune become a hush that threads through sleep. Repetition softens thought. Repeated phrases translate curiosity into rest. We stroll through scent, crushed berry, peat smoke, salt on cloth. Smell carries the past in quick, surprising ways. One breath and an hour of life blooms. Breathe in slowly with us. Imagine crushed berry at the tongue and exhale the mineral cold of silt. Pause for the hands. Rest them across your lap. Notice the warmth where cloth meets skin and feel how tiny motions, rolling a thumb, flexing a finger, ask the body to slow. These body cues act like anchors. Attend to them now as we move on. We meander to a dry riverbed where a single reed stands, bowed. Its shadow makes a map on water that is no longer there. We trace that shadow with a finger of thought, slow as ink drying, and allow the motion to circle back until attention softens. The structure of these digressions is circular by design. Each tangent folds into the one before, so the mind meets familiar shapes rather than new puzzles. A morning detail, dew on lichen that quivers when touched, tiny glass beads sliding off a leaf. A pebble's polite click as it settles in a bank. Such acoustic punctuation settles thought. Breathe with the click, soft and even now. We end with 4 tiny repeated phrases to ease wakefulness. We remember the plain. We remember the hand. We remember the small. We remember to rest. We carry, across these sections, an undertow of feeling that is gentle rather than grave. It is a melancholy threaded with companionship, a warmth beneath cool facts. Imagine a shared cloak passed between shoulders on a cold morning, its hems smelling faintly of smoke and peat. We notice the small economy of comfort, the way a hand smooths another's hair, the arranging of a blanket to shelter knees from wind. These gestures do not require grand speech. They are the grammar of living near the edge of change. Memory here is slow. Recollection is not fireworks, but steady folding of small things into a common narrative. We remember names carried in voice: river ford, wind shelter, the hollow with best shade, and those names become anchors for belonging. Belonging is a practice of return, reheated stew, repaired strap, the knowing of a berry patch. In saying this, the chest opens slightly, as if to let in a quiet light. This melancholy is kin to gratitude, not sorrow alone, but a sense that lived days matter though their shapes have changed. Tenderness remains alive, like a small fire tended at the center of feeling. Remembering can be a gentle cure. Its act soothes the raw edges of absence. We practice remembrance as craft, a name repeated, a story told low, an object set where hands will see it. There is simple courage in continuing. People carry on, make new hearths, stitch old rules into new places. Our voice mirrors that tenderness. We speak softly to reflect lives that persisted without spectacle. Persistence sounds like a quiet metronome, a fold of cloth, a bowl passed, a child finding a familiar stone. The land returns evidence in small acts, a seed sprouting through a buried mat, a tread revealed by thinning peat. These modest miracles comfort. Life leaves traces, and traces lead to continuation. Let that consolation be the soft current beneath our curiosity. Bring awareness inward. Feel where your back meets the chair. Notice warmth crossing shoulders. Let tension melt into exhalation. Repeat with us. We remember, and remembering softens us. Let breath lengthen as the words settle. Allow the body to carry what the mind has touched. In this mood, we permit questions without demand for answers. What matters is asking, the shared attention that holds doubt like a lamp. We close with gratitude for attention and with a soft recognition that to feel is to be part of the world's unfolding. We think of small rituals that bind a community: thumb marks on posts, a stone left when someone departs, notches on a paddle counting days. Such tiny acts accrete into a map that feels like family, reassuring in its steady predictability. They demand little speech and much attention. Their repetition is a humble architecture of comfort. A hand smoothing a child's hair, an elder showing weather in the cloud's edge, a neighbor mending a strap by firelight. These are endurance, not spectacle. Notice how remembering alters the breath. Each recollection eases the inhalation, lengthens the exhale, and teaches the body a gentler tempo. Let that rhythm settle as if learning to row in soft water. Pull, rest, allow the boat to answer. We offer this steadiness as a small gift, an ease to carry into sleep where memory keeps gentle watch while the body rests. Take one measured breath with us and feel the quiet warmth of remembrance and peace as you go toward rest. We gather the threads now, quietly, laying them across our knees as one might lay a shawl before a friend. Each fold a small narrative, each crease a remembered footstep. The harbor's rope, the oak avenue's shade, the child's thumb mark in a peg, the sonar bell that suggested a terrace. These are modest things, and in their modesty, they become the lanterns by which we walk the plain again. Return with us to the opening image. Lacquered light stretched over a wide steppe, the hush of wind, the auroral film that softened distances. See it as though closing a book slowly, feeling the cover's weight. We will not seek a dramatic end. Instead, we offer an ending that is a careful folding, a tidy of story and body. Begin by placing both hands across your belly. Feel the rise there as a small, dependable tide, and let that sensation remind you of the plain's steady rhythms. We name now a few soft facts. The sea rose in measured breaths. People moved in habitual circuits. Objects survived as intimate evidence. and we let these facts settle like pebbles into a quiet pool. There is no need to chase an explanation. The comfort is in companionship and the slow sharing of observation. We circle back to the sunken ziggurat that held a thumb-marked peg. Its chamber is a small chapel of ordinary life, and it offers, at last, an emblem not of empire, but of presence, someone who touched wood and left a thumbprint that became a map to memory. We imagine that chamber's breath, a muffled current, a soft silt sigh, a bell note from sonar like a far-off heartbeat. Standing at that threshold earlier, we felt cool clay beneath our toes and the way breath arranged itself to careful measures. Carry that sensation now into our closing. Consider the repeated motifs: rope and basket, hearth and tidal plane, feather and repaired strap. These motifs are tactile mantras that help us name what matters: daily habit, the economy of care, the small courage of continuing. Repeating them is not redundancy, but reassurance. These are the elements by which people held one another and the land. We acknowledge, too, the plurality of processes: patient return, sudden inlet, social undoing. Any and all may have shaped particular places. The plane lets them coexist like weather variants in a single season. Invite the body again. Lower your chin a fraction. Let the weight of the skull rest toward the spine. Allow shoulders to roll down and back as if settling into a chair that has been waiting for you. Feel the rhythm at your navel, a slow tide matching the plane's long breaths. Breathe in as the shore draws back, and breathe out as it returns, slow and unhurried. There is a tenderness in the modern rediscovery we have traced: a net snag, a diver's gloved hand, the lab's hush. Those moments bind past and present with small ritual: photograph wrapped in cloth, a ribbon tied to a post, a soft footfall at a public walk. We imagine those present, their faces lit by low lamps, their voices careful. We are not voyeurs. We are companions who remember with them. Now we lay out a soft practice for letting go tonight. Think of 3 small things from this story you can carry into sleep: a feather, a peg, the rhythm of a tide. Say them quietly to yourself, like a benediction: feather, peg, tide. Hold each image briefly in the mind's hand, then let it go as if placing it into a pocket in your coat. Let us reflect on legacy. The plane's disappearance altered lines of descent and tail. Stories reroute, and new geographies of memory arise where old ones submerge. Yet continuity persists in domestic acts, in recipes adapted to new shorelines, in songs that shift melody but keep the same refrain. Human life mends itself with patient hands. Our own inheritance is this attention, the habit of noticing small things and carrying them forward. In remembering, we become a modest bridge between sea and shore. We will end without an imperative, with a series of phrases to be repeated as a soft mantra. These are simple, tactile lines meant to ease the mind into diminishing attention. Repeat them with us, each time softer, letting sound fall away until it is almost a thought. We remember the plane. We remember the hand. We remember the small. We remember to rest. We remember the plane. We remember the hand. We remember the small. We remember to rest. We remember the plane. We remember the hand. We remember the small. We remember to rest. We remember the plane. We remember the hand. We remember the small. We remember to rest. We remember the plane. We remember the hand. We remember the small. We remember to rest. We remember the plane. We remember the hand. We remember the small. We remember to rest. Let the last breath dissolve into the dark. Our thoughts fold like paper, quiet and small, leaving room for sleep to do its work. A final tactile note. Imagine tucking the map of Beringia into a small wooden box, closing the lid with a thumb press, and setting it on a shelf that is quiet and warm. Feel the slight resistance as the box closes, the the small click that assures the world is tended. We lay down now, in imagination and in body, with palms warm and knees softened. Allow the eyelids to shade and the breath to take on the easy, even rhythm of the sea. Let the last image be simple. The shore bows its head to the sea, a patient inclination, and we, now quiet, turn away together into a night that keeps both memory and rest. May sleep cradle us as the waves cradle what once was walked upon, steady and unhurried. We go now, held toward the hush. Good night and rest.